Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone on this beautiful Sunday, and blessed, I should say. I hope everyone is doing well. And I wanted to make sure, let me check the live stream. Yes, we're good to go. Normally, as you folks know that listen to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, we don't do a live stream on Sunday, but I have a very special guest. And I was super excited to make this special event for him because what he has to say is always so inspiring, and I'm left for days rewatching and listening to him again and again. But let me get started. So again, thank you and welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. As you just heard, we're broadcasting live today on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And of course, both of these networks are available on FM 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. If you're around today and joining us live, please be sure and pop into the chat rooms. We love to be able to connect with you so you can ask questions to our most honored and welcomed guest today. So today's conversation explores one of the most profound questions a human being can ask. We'll have many of those today. But one of them is the sense that we are separate from one another, separate from the universe, from God, a reality itself, or an illusion. In this episode, what near-death experiences reveal about reality, the illusion of separation, we're going to examine that and much more about what happens when the boundaries of identity dissolve and the consciousness appears to expand beyond the limits of the body. And these experiences, neurological events, spiritual awakenings, or glimpses into the true nature of existence, is that what they are? We're going to delve into that. And of course, joining us today is Peter Panagore, and I'm so honored to have him back on. I always enjoy speaking with him. And as I said, it'll leave you for days pondering and thinking and wondering and being inspired and all of the above. Of course, he survived a profound near-death experience, actually two of them, that reshaped his understanding of life, death, and the interconnectedness of all things. Through his story and reflections, we will explore whether separation is fundamental to reality or whether unity is the deeper truth beneath it all. If the self is not as solid as we believe, what does that mean for fear, for conflict, for love? If consciousness is not confined to the brain, how does that change the way we understand death? And if unity that lies beneath the surface of our everyday perceptions, we ask, why do we experience life as divided at all? So in this conversation about identity awareness and the possibility that what we call me, right, may be a part of something greater. So enough babble. Peter.
Hey. Hi, Caroline. Thanks for having me back. Hi, Heidi in Boulder. Hi, everybody
Heidi.
else.
That's my star sis. Love you dearly. I'm going to catch you later on a chat. Always so, she says hello, of course. And I mean it from my heart. It's always such an honor to be able to speak with you. I replay a lot of our conversations because I like to take notes afterwards so that I don't forget things. Because, you know, it's jam-packed with so much information, and I want to make sure I don't miss out. And for our folks that are listening, let me get your banner up here, Peter. Show. Okay, so for folks that are listening, you can find out so much more about Peter at peterpanagore.love. And that's peterpanagore.love, which I love that. That is so cool. So, Heidi, thank you so much for joining us. I know that folks are not used to us live streaming on a Sunday, but like I said, I'm so blessed to be able to do that with Peter. So if you could spread the word, Heidi, and let folks know, although I did blast it everywhere. And for our FM listeners, we're always so grateful for you as well. So, Peter, what have you been up to? I know you've got a new gig working as a pastor, right? In a prison? No, are you?
I'm a
You
chaplain in
a
maximum
chaplain.
security prison.
Yes.
Means that I'm pastor to everyone, no matter what their religion is.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The role is to oversee 14 religions and to help them with their what's called RELUPA, their federal law practice of religion inside of federally protected right to religion inside of uh, security system, a correction system. I'm the chaplain in Maine's maximum security prison. Maine follows this thing called the Maine model of corrections, which was a sort of a stepchild of the Norwegian model of corrections. It's significantly more humane and resulting in the lowest recidivation rate in the nation. And
Wow.
religion is a major part of a lot of survival strategies among the residents. We don't call them inmates, we call them residents. There are 1,000
Oh,
of them.
nice.
And so my job is to do a lot of paperwork right now. I'm kind of a bureaucrat at the moment, but ultimately my job is going to be interacting with the residents and also the staff and helping them in their interior spiritual and belief systems lives.
Wow. It sounds like it's perfect fit for you too.
It seems to be. The wardens keep telling me so, and everybody I run into keeps telling me so. It's been 99% fabulous so
Wow.
far, which is a high rating. You know, nothing's ever perfect, and
Yeah.
but it's. I feel like I was called to this position at a
Yeah.
time in my life that they needed me, and I was prepared for it.
So thank you for taking your day off to do this too. It means so much.
Well, thanks for
And I
having
think,
me.
oh, of course, and especially during these times, aside from all the global problems that we're experiencing, war and just all this ugliness, there's a big spiritual revolution taking place among the population. And it's funny because the only time I really enjoy spending time on social media is hearing other people's stories about how they're becoming awake to so much. And I wanted to ask you out of the gate because I've been listening and reading a lot of Jung, however you
Jung,
pronounce his
Carl
name,
Jung.
Jung. Um, and his work is so inspirational and miraculous, really, when you delve into it. And he talks a lot about how painful spiritual growth is, and it is.
It is.
It's lonely, it's scary, it's isolating, and all of the above. Why is that? Can you delve into why that is?
It involves the dissolution of the identity.
Mm.
And so, in a major mystical, by the way, Carl Jung was a near-death experiencer.
Oh,
The
I didn't know that, and
Yeah,
I've read
it's
so much about him. Wow.
hence his perspective. Google Carl Jung near-death experience.
Okay, I
You'll
will do that.
so w- the major mystical experiences dislodge one's identity or shatters it. In my case, it's been shattered again and again and again. And what I mean by identity is the my understanding of who I am as a person, as a mind, as a brain, as a body, identification with the Peter self, the
Right.
physical self, the brain, emotional, psychological self, and all of that in a major mystical experience gets destroyed because suddenly you come back from one of these experiences, near death or otherwise, and you are left without any sort of you're like a sailboat that's been demasted in a hurricane without a rudder and your keel's gone. You're just like bobbing all over
Perfectly
the
said.
place
Perfectly
because
said.
suddenly The center of your being, which is yourself, is gone. And it's not like you still have the characteristics in your behavior and the way you speak and your memories, but I should talk about an I speech. My identification with my human self was destroyed. And when I came back, I knew that I was not this person. I knew that I'm temporarily this person. I
Mm,
know that I inhabit this body, or it's more like my body inhabits me.
yeah.
And I have spent, because of that painful disassociation, um, I went in pursuit of the one thing that I know is real, and that's my higher self in connection with the divine. And it's multifaceted. There's a thousand different angles to it. One of them uh, is the understanding that all of these parts of myself, my human self, it's not. It's more like I have a thousand different tiny little selves that
Mm,
all in a mosaic create my identity as a human being. But they're actually all tiny kind of separate things. And so I behave this way in this circumstance, I behave that way in that circumstance. It's not because I'm a different person, it's because these are different facets of myself. And my the the integration of these things doesn't happen on this where they are for me. The
mm,
integration of these things happen by the stepping aside from my own attachment to my identity through a practice, meditation practice, um, in order to naturally become identified with the higher self where the actual integration is. So the actual
mm.
integration doesn't happen in my psyche, it happens in my soul. And when I become integrated with my soul self, my true self, my higher self, then my lower self becomes integrated in it. And when that happens, then, well, I live in heaven here now, even in this beautiful hellscape. And it's not just me. And it's anyone who has a shattering experience who then finds tools in the experience to self-identify as soul. And so that you asked, the initial question was, why does it hurt? Because it hurts because you lose yourself. Those who keep their life lose it, and those who lose their life keep it, said Jesus. And this is what he's talking about. He was a total mystical dude. He was not as
Yes.
and so that's what he's saying when he's saying that. And when you die before you die,
Mm,
then when you die, you will not die. If you die, this is it. If you die before you die, then when you die, you will not die. And so this
wow.
is a dying to self. Hurts.
It does hurt, and it's very isolating too, and I know we've talked about that in our previous conversations about how your family and friends reacted to you after such an event. You had 2 of them. You didn't just have 1 near-death experience, you had 2. I mean, I think the first one was more, um, I don't know what word to use. It was just
Profound.
profound. It was. I mean,
Yeah.
based on us talking about it, I mean, not to negate your second one, because that
No.
one was a mind blower too. Just different and like you said, more profound. So, um, what are we to do for those of us, because it seems like this journey never ends. The awakening. It like you think when something happens and you get like this epiphany and you feel so connected to the universe. And it's funny because I think Jim Carrey, the comedian, said that when that happened to him, it went away and he's been spending every day trying to recapture that. So, and that kind of summed it up beautifully because you think at that moment that like you've arrived and all the questions are, but no, it just puts you back further, I think. Explain that to us.
So
What is happening?
there's this guy named William James who
Hi,
uh,
Gary.
was
Yes.
a psychologist at Harvard University. They picked him up off of Glasgow back in the turn of the last century, around the 1900. And in his famous book, varieties of religious experience, he describes 4 stages, 4 categories, 4 sections, characteristics of mystical experience. And one of those characteristics is that every mystical experience, every real mystical experience, has a beginning and an end. They end. And it's not just Jim Carrey, it's everybody. Everybody
Yeah.
who has one has a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
And everybody then certain many things can happen as a result of that. One
Mm-hmm.
can make the mistake of identifying with the egoic self and thinking I must be special because I had this mystical experience, therefore I'm some kind of guru or some kind of holy person. And that's just, your ego taken over,
Yeah.
and it's a mistake. So these kinds of experiences leave us with a desire for the experience. They
Mm-hmm.
leave us when I came back from my first near-death experience, the only thing I wanted to do was go back to where I was. I
Yeah.
did not want to be here. I went in deep pursuit of it. It turned out that my longing for it and my lack of the intensity of it was the driving force behind my pursuit of it. So my pursuit of it was driven by my longing for it. And so here's Jim Carrey. He's longing to get that experience again. Well, here's a secret for you. You never get the same experience twice, ever,
Right.
never. And so instead of pursuing the experience, what I learned in my studies was you pursue the oneness of being. You don't pursue the gifts. You pursue the giver. And in the pursuit of the giver, you end up with all these other gifts because you're not clinging at the things. And
Mm,
that's part of the problem with when a person has a mystical awakening, and they become self-identified egoically, then they're
mm.
grasping. They're still grasping at things. And the whole process of non-attachment to self is to understand that to become non-attached to your own identity. And so when one becomes through practices becomes non-attached to one's own identity, then everything becomes a little less painful because passing through, passing through,
Right.
living this life, just passing through. I can take anything for a while.
It's interesting when I had my first experience, and that's all we have to go by is what we experience, right? When I had my first, I don't even want to call it it was a spiritual event. I don't know what to this day I don't know what it was, but all I know is I felt the same way Jim Carrey did. And I was reading Cosmic Consciousness by Buck. And I when I read this one paragraph, and I'm 15, mind you, and
Mm,
all of a sudden I got lifted out of myself. I don't know where I went, but it was magnificent wherever it was. It was euphoric. It was all of the above. And it was seconds, maybe 15. It was quick. And when I came back, I felt like I saw the world differently. Like I was observing
mhm.
instead of being observed, if that makes sense. And at 15, I'm trying to make sense of this, having no one to talk to about it, because back then they would have put you in Bellevue thinking you're a
Th
cuckoo.
They still could.
Yeah, they still could. True. But the point of that being that you do try to get that back because for years I read the same passage over and over thinking I'd get that same and it was just it was a fart in the wind. It never happened. It just
And
and it
that's
was
why
sad.
studying those who preceded us, who know all the traps, can guide
Yes.
us.
And that's what I did. I read every book. It got so that at 15, 16, I locked myself in my bedroom with about 20 volumes of Cahill Gibran. I say his name wrong, but everybody knows who it is.
Mhm.
I locked myself in the bedroom with every book of his. And my mom and dad got so worried they like called the doctor and said this isn't normal, like, and they dragged me to go out, that kind of thing. And the doctor, funny enough, said to my parents, "Leave her alone, she'll get over it." Like, and that was exactly what happened. I kind of eased out of that, but you're right. Reading, trying to find the answers to what you experienced, at least that's what I did through reading, and it did help. It was very healing. It was a healing journey. I mean, is that like the best thing you could do when you experience something like that? Meditate? I know you meditate every day for decades, right, Peter?
Yes. And meditation, if I had to choose between study and meditation, I would choose meditation.
Yeah.
But study matters. And one of the things I decided very early on is because there's so much information in the world, especially nowadays, everybody can publish uh, ha- of how to live a spiritual life. I decided early on that I would study as primary sources the earliest texts that I could that have stood the test of time. That these
Mm,
books keep getting handed down because their value exceeds anything that's published today and lasts a week. And so I focused in those books because uh, well, because they lasted. So that's one thing.
yeah.
But the other thing is in those books, I learned that meditation of some kind of interior practice, there's lots of different ways of practicing it, but there are primary ways, and there are secondary ways. And the primary ways include mental focus, breath, and chant, prayer, for
Mm,
instance. And why? Why do the nuns, when I was growing up, why do the nuns have their rosary and they're doing their rosaries over and over
always.
and over and over and over again? Because what they're doing is they're quieting their mind, and they're
Ah,
learning to focus their brain and quiet their mind. And what happens with the practice of a rosary or a worry bead or Buddhist beads or just a mantra is that eventually the mind becomes strong enough to stay on the task of the language and remain in a quiet, breathful place, and then eventually the language falls away, and one is left in the state of no thought. So people trying to, how do I meditate? I can't not think. Well, you have to think in order to get to the place of not thinking, and
yeah.
it's counterintuitive, but that's how it works. So if you focus on I use the same prayer. I've been using the same prayer for decades. It
Mm,
runs in as a tape loop in my head. And I do that because I learned early on that if I had one mantra instead of 20 mantras, it would burn into my head and then it'd become accessible to me anytime I needed it. And so instead of having to try to force my brain into meditation, it's already working. It's always kind of running in my head.
that's
And
brilliant.
well, I didn't. It's thank you. It's not my idea. I got it from somewhere. Maybe the Apostle Paul said, pray without ceasing." And I was like, "Well, how the heck do you do that? What's that all
Right.
about?" And so I began this practice with that in mind. And what eventually happens is that the the identity with the lower self of the attachment to the identity of the lower self, it fades away enough that the natural force of the presence of the divine becomes a living presence. And when that
Mm,
becomes a living presence, then it becomes the prayer. And so not only does the quietude bring that about, then there's this becomes this resting place which is energetic, which is vibrational, which is light. There's all different kinds of metaphors of
sure.
fire. It's quantum. It's all different, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's experiential. It's not imaginative. It's has a physicality to it that can be well, if you've ever been in the presence of somebody who radiates, then it's contagious. You feel it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this feeling it thing is, um, well, it doesn't take away the pain and the suffering because I nearly cut off the tip of my finger this week. Sliced a tomato. I wasn't paying attention, and
Oh,
I nicked
goodness.
it enough that in a weird way. I was bleeding so much I had to I had to hold it for hours to stop the bleeding. But in the meanwhile, I was still trying to make dinner for myself. And I think I ended up eating the piece of skin. I think I ended up eating the nick of my finger, which makes me a cannibal, I think.
Oh my
Um,
god.
and so I was like, oh my God, I think I ate this thing. It was mixed into the tomatoes. I don't really know.
You lost a whole slight chunk of finger.
I lost a nick. I nicked off the corner of it. And
You didn't need stitches or anything, Peter?
there was nothing to stitch.
Oh, jeez. I mean, we've
So
all done that,
oh
but
yeah, yeah.
but
No, what my point
it
is.
sounds like yours is brutal.
Nah, it's okay. It's okay. My point is that life still hurts even living the life that I'm living now as a result of everything that's happened to me in the pursuit I've been on. Life it can be painful. That's just the way it is. And so I can laugh about it because the pain wasn't too intense. But I recognize that until the day I die, I'm going to continue to be on the journey of integration, and I'm going to continue to be on living in the world where a slip of the mind can produce the slip of the knife.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's so well said. Let's see what Carrie said over here. I do out of body experience, and I don't want to come back either. There's so much going on. More exciting out there, as well as being connected to soul and spirit, is a desire to connect with her in a deep longing. Yeah. I mean, do you call is that when you pray like that, and you've got this prayer, right? That you say, I
Mm.
mean, it's part of you. That's it's part of your soul now, right? Do you call that meditation? Is that out of body experience, or is that just your soul reconnecting with your body? Like, what is happening?
I'm quieting my mind to a
Mm.
place where I'm just breathing, just breath. I may be aware of my breath, just with awareness, without language, just resting in peace. And in this peace, in that state, every time I touch into the quietude or the silence, another layer of my own interior onion gets peeled away and thrown in the compost.
Ah,
And it leaves an ever increasing space of that doesn't contract, an ever increasing space that allows this divine energy that has no language and can't be spoken of, but it can be experienced, to dwell, to live in my physical body. And it is me. This is also, this energy is me, but it's also not this me. It makes this me be here, but it's not this me. And so it's this unitive state, uh, while being dismembered, and the dismemberment is being physical. I'm separate from the fullness of the being because I'm here. But my higher self, my true self, is in communion all the time, and that communion can be brought into this physical world. And as for out of body experiences, I chose long ago because I'd met some negative entities along the way. I chose long ago not to try to leave my body on my own, but to
yeah.
allow the divine to take me, and that has happened repeatedly in my life. And so the quietude, the silence, the peace is different than the out of body experience. The out of body experience is self-evidently true when you're in one, and two, it's realer than this reality here. That's and a whole bunch of other stuff.
So there obviously are negative entities in that realm that you can trip upon, come across when you're having that experience, right?
Well, I was concerned that I would come across them. They'd come to me, and one had come to me, and repeatedly in that hemiplegic state between waking and sleeping, and tried to consume my soul. Super, super sexy. Whoa, over the top, luscious. Uh, oh my God. And but scary, 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 scary. And I in that state, it was repeated. It happened a whole bunch of my life, because of the tape loop of my prayer in my head. Even in my dream state, I could call upon the light inside of me by latching onto the prayer, and
Mm.
and by calling on the light, the dark entity vanished. Now, was this a dark entity from another dimension? It appeared to come from a deeper darkness. It was a two-dimensional humanoid shape, but had no depth to it and no features other than deep darkness. But,
Oh.
maybe it was a projection of my subconscious. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what it was. All I know is it wanted to do is eat me, and I wouldn't let it, and it couldn't come into me. So what its origin was, I don't know. But all I know is that it's never coming to me. It's never getting in me. It's never, ever, 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 ever. Um,
When was the last time you experienced that particular entity?
oh,
Was it a long
maybe
time ago, or?
5 years ago. There was a
Mm.
period of my life when it was fairly frequent, over maybe 10 years, and maybe the last time was, it might have been 7 or 8 years ago. around my somewhere around my last near-death experience. Um, so I have chosen all the way along to only aim to the light and let everything else. I learned on the other side that my understanding and desires inside my tiny little human brain is nothing compared to the infinite wisdom and understanding and knowledge of the divine, of the holy of holies, of Brahman, whatever name you want to slap on this thing. It has no name. It is no non-being like we can conceive of, and its intelligence is so far beyond mine that merely by getting out of the way is good enough for me. And I let it take me and do with me whatever it wills, because it is so much greater than I am. And yet when I'm in its presence, I am also part of it. It's a dichotomy. It's a paradox. It's a unity. It's impossible to explain.
I've been told that it's all about remembering, like, things that we are intentionally set to forget. Our divineness, our connectedness to God. I don't know if you believe that to be true, but it almost seems like it is, because we do have moments of remembrance, right? Where we, like you obviously had so many of them. And why do you think that we are intentionally set to forget? Is it because of the school of earth? Like, that we need to go, like,
Every
what is up with that?
everybody. First, I want to connect with Carfast over here. Um, I'm glad that she
Oh, the
has a.
last one?
Yep, I'm glad that you have a guide, your soul to guide you. That's good. The veil. It's not just us.
Mm.
We have this idea that it's just humans. It's not just us, it's my dogs. The dogs I've had in my life. It's the little chickadee outside. It's the tree, it's the rock, it's the planet, it's the star system, it's the galaxy, it's the whole place is the entirety of the universe is a reduction of the wholeness of the divine. And part of the woven into
Ooh.
the warp and weave of the structure of the whole universe is this lesser than state. If it existed in the higher than state, it would be in heaven, or whatever you want to call that place of paradise where I went when I died. There was unlimited there, and beyond the unlimited, unmanifested divine love. And here it's manifested, limited, and because it's manifested and limited, it's not part of the fallout is we're blind. And I don't think it's like an intentional. Maybe it's intentional, but it seems like if it's intentional, it has nothing to do with humanity. It has to do with
Mm.
the existence of the reality itself. And so, yep, the forgetfulness. And what are we trying to remember? I'm trying to remember just speaking for myself. I only can talk for me. I'm trying to remember and connect with the oneness of being, the light itself, and all the rest of it, my other lives. I know I've had other lives. I saw them when I was dead. I entered into two of them. I saw a whole multiplicity of them. I had lots of them. I'm not interested in any of them because none of them were me. All of them were incarnations of me, and just like this is. And so my attention, because of my experience on the other side with union, and I'm not saying anybody has to do this. This is not this. I'm on my path. You're on yours. But as for me, I'm aiming at the oneness of being because that's who I actually am. That's my actual being self. And in that, if I can strip away enough of my attachment to myself while in this life, if I have a next incarnation, which who knows? I don't. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna find out. But if I do, maybe I'll carry over more light with me next time.
Yeah.
And so the
We
learning
hope
is
for
about the
that.
light. Pardon?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I said we all hope for that, that's the case, that it carries over. But you
Yeah.
already connected to the oneness of light 2 times, and probably more. I mean,
More than that. And and
right.
and so it becomes, well, it's my reality and living in this world. So I'm in this prison working. It turns out that I've met 6 other near-death experiencers in the prison. A couple of them are staff,
Wow.
4 or 5 of them are residents.
Wow,
I'd have
that's a
to
lot.
Well, we make up to 7% of the population by measure. 5 to 7%. We're a
And
lot. There's
just
a lot
think
of us.
decades ago, you never heard of that. So
Nope.
everybody just kept it in, suppressed all that magic and wonder, and imagine that.
Well,
So it's a blessing,
why?
right?
Why would
Yeah,
they because everyone was afraid of being labeled insane.
yeah,
And so it wasn't until the 1960s when medicine advanced to the stage where it really began pulling people back from the dead regularly, primarily through cardiac care, that it became a phenomenon. I mean, it was always a small phenomenon, but suddenly it becomes this big phenomenon because of cardiac care. And then the people it was happening to, they couldn't understand it. And
yeah.
then Raymond Moody came out with his book, and that began the process
Yes.
of. And then about 10 years ago, around the time I came out of the closet, a whole lot of us were coming out of the closet, and it
Yeah,
became and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take it out of the closet because there's so many of us, and it's so life transformative, and it's not just near-death experiencers. It's people who have all sorts of other mystical experiences, that, can present as psychosis, which is what we
right.
are all afraid of, but isn't not psychosis. And if mistreated, it can really mess a person up. And as it is, it messes you up. But if you end up on psychotic drugs and nobody ever helps you integrate this thing, then you're messed.
I
Um,
imagine that unfortunately happens a lot too, to even today, like, but I think doctors in the medical
oh yeah,
community, yeah, they're more open to it and they understand it, right?
much more. There's Bruce Grayson, who's a researcher. He's got a book called After. It's got like 5,000 reviews on Amazon. It's a
Wow,
study of his 40 or 45 years
gotta write that
of
down.
being a research scientist examining near-death experience, and he came in as a skeptic, and now he's not a skeptic. And he's influential because he's a real scientist. He's not pseudoscience, he's real science.
Yeah,
And so doctors, nurses, frontline nurses have always known about this.
yeah.
Women, and it was mostly women when I was working in hospitals. I was a minister, and I was always in the hospitals. Mostly women who are the nurses in oncology and cardiac care and this special SCUs, this special care units, ICUs. The women who saw death frequently saw souls leaving bodies
Yeah,
or people die and they come back. And so being of a more compassionate career path than, say, a physician, that's not to say that physicians are compassionate, but as a career path, nurses are more compassionate than doctors. Generalization, but I would stand by it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Doctors took a while longer because of their science training. They're like, I don't know, man. I'm not
yeah,
so sure.
yeah.
But now um, that's becoming less and less. Even if they just say, "I know that that's what you believe happened," which is
Right,
a huge
right.
step. That
Absolutely. Just the acknowledgement of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's why I was kinda perplexed at the amount of nurses that were on social media making, and I'm sure you've seen the videos or heard about them, making these horrible statements about, politically and what they'd like to do to certain branches of the government.
Well,
I
that
and they're
the
nurses. These are
the
nurses.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. I was traveling in Nicaragua, as the war was winding down, and there was a song that came out by Bruce Cockburn at the time, and he said, "If I had a rocket launcher, some son of a would die." And when I was down there, I heard stories of the priests who picked up guns.
Wow.
And so it's human beings. Human beings
Yeah,
are human beings, no matter who they are, where they're from. We're all
yeah.
so.
Well, then I think you get into the whole righteous anger thing, and then Jesus spoke about that. And there are times when I feel that I could be so angry. And I always think of that maybe it's just okay to be that angry over something like the whole Epstein file thing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's okay to be angry about all that stuff. And,
Yeah,
it also for the sake of my kids and grandkids, I want the truth to come out. I want the truth to come out,
that's
and I would prefer to see a world that, uh, the majority of people had the right to choose,
right.
rather than the power be concentrated in the hands of a few because of extraordinary wealth.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be
So
very
true.
politic as I'm saying this,
Yeah.
but in my spiritual world, none of this freaking matters.
No, it doesn't.
Not at all. I don't matter. I was in one of my experiences, I was in the middle of the universe, and I saw myself in proportion to the universe in an accurate measure, and time and space, and I am nothing. Nothing.
But yet Jesus said he knows us by our names, so
Well, because every single one of us is in pat is particularly beloved. I saw that too.
yeah, I
I
remember
was
you
that
talking about
person, and I could see that everybody else was too. Is the other side is filled with these paradoxes that well, they're not paradoxes there, but they're paradoxes here.
yeah.
Yep.
How do you deal with and I think about that a lot with you. Like, I could be in the middle of, like, a hissy fit over something stupid, and then I, like, catch myself, and I realize so much of what we've talked about, being what you just said, that none of this matters. It's none we don't matter, right? And I often think about how you feel. Not that I'm stalking your brain or anything, but our conversations are very meaningful to me, as I've told you. And a lot of what you say, I take to heart. And I often think about how you would feel having all the experiences that you've had in your life when you get angry. Because like I'll beat myself up over it. And like I'll get angry at myself for getting angry. Does that make sense?
It
Because
does, and
I know better. How do you deal with all that stuff?
well, I'm a human being, and I have emotions, and, um, I had a little fear this week. I'm not afraid of dying, but, I was afraid I was gonna get sued.
Mm.
And by a resident in the prison as a
Oh,
result
good
of
lord.
the my siding with security over a desire that they had for Ramadan. I'm very supportive of Ramadan. I'm very supportive of these guys, but there was this conflict between security and Ramadan, and I work in a maximum security prison where people like are used to killing other people.
Yeah.
So it's real. So I sided with security, and as a result, I got what's called grieved. And we worked it out. But before I knew we were going to work it out, and it because of the grievance could lead, eventually to a lawsuit, and it was my first one. We worked it out, but I was like, oh no, as if I don't have enough going on already.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, "Ah, rah, 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 rah." And
Right.
then I realized, "Okay, wait a minute. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Remember who you are. Remember where you are." And
Yeah.
I'll give you this as example. One day, someone had lent me a sailboat for a very long period of time. And so I had this sailboat, and it was a 19-foot for the sailors out there, it was a 19-foot Rhodes with a full keel, with a fin keel. And so I was sailing by myself, which I've done for my whole of my life. And so I'm out sailing in the bay, and it's blowing okay, and I have the right amount of sail up, and I'm completely in control, and I'm enjoying myself. And I decide to sail around this island to go out into the open ocean and come back in again. I get around
Mm.
the island, and the first thing that happens is the wind is blowing like 20 knots more just around the
Ooh.
corner. And now
Yeah.
I have the sails are overpowered by a lot, and the water's pouring over the side, and I'm
Oh,
holding onto
gee.
the tiller, and my heart's going boom, 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 boom. And I think, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I think to myself, what's the worst that can happen? I could die. And I thought, oh, if that's the
Right,
worst that can
right.
happen, I calmed right down. As long as I remember myself, and I got out of it. I
Right.
mean, I'm here, right, in the boat, fine.
Yeah,
But it
thankfully.
was so as long as when my emotions strike, as long as I can remember who I am, it helps. When other people are involved, like I've been under serious threat in my life, and when that involves other people, that makes it more difficult to
Yes, but you
not be
gotta deal with
concerned about
humans.
them,
Right.
right?
Hello, Pierre. So happy to have you. You've got a question there.
Bonjour,
He wants
Pierre.
to know, thank you for coming on this podcast. I wonder how being a chaplain in a prison has impacted your spiritual path. I understand there are huge, huge challenges. Are you happy you choose to do this? What a great question. Thank you.
Bonjour, Pierre. I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you here. Um, yeah, it's impacted my spiritual life. I meditate every morning in my office where I'm visible to security and also to residents walking by, so they know that I'm practicing. So I have found that when I'm under pressure in my life, that the deeper I dive inside myself, the calmer and more collected I am in my
Mm.
work life. And so that's one thing. And the other thing is, I'm in the open. So this is the first job I've ever had. Even when I was on television, my producer knew I was a near-death experiencer, but the TV station didn't know, and my audience didn't know. When I got this job, I applied to it I'm out. I'm wide open. I'm like, I'm a near-death experiencer. This is part of my resume, my curriculum vitae. And so when I interviewed for this job, I was on television in Maine for a long time. The wardens
Wow.
knew. They're like, "Oh yeah, I know this guy's voice." And so I was out the moment I entered into the prison. And then, within a couple of weeks, one of the corrections officers died in an unrelated car accident, and I
Oh,
did
no.
his service, and I'm open when I talk about it in services. So suddenly, everybody knows in the prison. All the staff know that I'm a near-death experiencer, and so part of the way that it's impacted my spiritual life is that I'm in a position in my life now where I figured I had enough social credentials to spend some of them by being open in a place that is not used to people like me.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, they really like me being there. And part of the reason why they like me being there is because I'm egalitarian when it comes to helping these religions. I'm as equal helping Ifa, which
That's
is
a
an
huge
ancient,
appeal. Yeah.
to the Wiccans and the Santorinians and the Christians and the Muslims. And so I'm I'm putting into practice, when I was working in New York with all these religious communicators from the Krishnas and the Baha'is and all
Mm.
these religions, all these major communicators, I was super comfortable working with all of them. I'm
Mhm.
super comfortable working with all these people because even if they're functioning in a belief system, and the belief system is the depth of their experience. They have a community of practice. They have this belief system that gives them a structure to survive in the prison. That's enough for me to be on their side to help them. In addition to that, of course, I can see there's light inside of even these people who've committed
Yes.
heinous crimes. And I treat
And
them
that's
that
probably
way.
a tough one. That's gotta be a tough one for some people to swallow because, I mean, not that you would tell people that, but the strangers, but you probably lost all sense of judgment, right? Like, you don't there's no judgment for anybody, right, Peter?
No, no, I'm aware that another aspect of it is that even though I'm cultivating this internal peace continually, I also kind of in a spiritual warrior now because I got to have my warrior radar on all the time.
Right.
It's like walking in after dark in a city where you don't know anyone.
Mm.
And it's 2 in the morning and you got to pay attention. And it's like that all the time. So I'm always in awareness of my circumstances. But
Security there for yourself, or I mean,
security's
are
there
you
for myself. There's
pretty
security
safe?
all around. I'm
Yeah.
safe. I've also, I had 3 years of martial arts training in my 20s and 30s and 40s, when I 20s and 30s, and then I'm in boxing class again, and I'm taking martial arts. So I
So
can
you're
I
good.
can I can protect
Yeah.
myself for 30
Yeah.
seconds. That's all I need.
30
So
seconds.
I just need 30 seconds. But these guys, other than the guys who are psychopathic or have some kind of psychiopathy, they they have they're just people. And even those people with that psychiopathy where they don't have any emotions, They're still just people, and I still can see the light in them. I just have to be wary of them. So I have to be this combination of being open to them and also being always a little closed. And I protect my family
Sure, of course.
from my social media life has changed. I don't know if you've noticed that. And my
Yeah.
friends who, my social media life has changed a little bit. But it's impacted my spiritual growth because um, I'm in the midst of human suffering again. Being on
Yeah.
TV, it took me when I was a minister, I was always in the midst of human suffering of all sorts. Joys
Mhm,
too, not just suffering, but a
mhm.
lot of suffering. But here in the prison, I'm back in the milieu again, where guys are dealing with things that they did that for which they may have regrets,
Yeah.
and they're in a lot of these guys are in for life. They're never getting out, ever.
Have you
Um,
run into someone there or in life in general that just you don't see that light and it's just filled with darkness? Because there are people that if you want to use a common term, sell their soul to the dark side. Have you encountered anybody like in the prison
Not in the prison.
where
I have encountered people like that, but not in the prison. But that doesn't but I even with their cloak of darkness that this one guy extended out from him like 10 feet and this other person 2 or 3 feet, there's still light inside of them. I still can see the
that's
light.
what I was
It's
going to
just that
ask you. Is
yeah,
it
it's
still
still
light?
there. It's not it doesn't stop being. I mean, it's in absolutely everything there is. But it's also I don't know, it's not more visible in people. It's just visible in a different way.
Mm,
Um, and this particular guy was a criminal. He was leaving the court, and I was on the street in the city, and I could feel him from 10 feet away. He knew that I could feel him too, because I could see in his face as he looked at me
he knew.
recognition. Oh yeah, he knew, and I knew that he knew, and he knew that I knew. It was the
What did you
that
do? Did you just
I I stepped away.
yeah.
He was walking with his attorney, and I just gave this guy a wide berth. I walked out into the street to get around him.
What did
Um,
that look like? Was it an energy, that darkness, or was it just like a cloak of dense, n like, darkness that you were able to see
it
visually,
was
or
a
was it
it it was a it's kinda like seeing and smelling and feeling at the same time. It's
mm,
all the different senses acting as one, and it was dark, and it was heavy, and it was wounded, and there was a lot of
ah,
pain and anger in it, and there was a
yes,
lot of, ego in it,
yeah,
and there was viciousness in it, rage, hatred. And it was a mosaic of all of these things, or more
yeah,
like
I would think.
like a stew, because it's all sort of
Wow.
blended in together.
Do you think that could be lifted well, I'm sure it can, I'm asking you rhetorically, but, um, with prayer, could that be lifted from a human being? Like,
I don't know, it's not
completely
my
lifted,
job.
do you think? Yeah.
I'm sure that it could be lifted, but I don't know whether people praying for him would make any difference. His job, I mean, my job isn't that. That's up to the divine. I don't try to
But I'm
change
sure you
people.
inspire
I
the what do you call them again? Not inmates, residents, right?
residents.
Residents, yeah. So I'm sure that through your conversations with them and probably lectures you do there, I mean, that has to transform their lives in some way or another, I would imagine.
I haven't done any lectures yet. That's coming down the road once we get things. It's a lot of organization still, systems and building things, which is another thing that I do, and I'm also integrating into their system. The prison bureaucracy is its own thing,
Oh,
and
I can imagine.
I'm learning how. And it's all there's all these minute things that I have to keep
Yeah,
learning.
yeah.
Um, but I know that there's a couple individuals, one in particular, who's keeps coming back to me, to talk more deeply about these subjects because, he's on the journey himself. And so I know that I'm influencing him. I'm not trying to influence him. I'm just trying to help him on his own journey. That's my job. My job isn't to try to tell anybody anything or convince anybody of anything. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help, to the best of my ability, whatever people need. And I recognize, um, I was walking down the hall the other day, and it's Ramadan.
Yeah.
And I've been working, and we've got 60, 65 guys who are participating in Ramadan, and it involves lots of security. And there's all sorts of security issues and kitchen issues and all sorts of details that go into this thing. And I was walking down the hall the other day, after we get a week after Ramadan, maybe it's 2 or 3 days ago. And one of the staff
Mhm.
members said to me, uh, I heard, because the prison is filled with rumors. I heard it's like a closed circle. Once in it,
Oh,
it's an
yeah.
echo chamber, right? So I heard that you treat the Muslims, you're treating the Muslims better than any chaplain has treated them
Oh,
before.
jeez.
And so and to me that's like, okay, this is why I'm here. I'm here to help, and to get to Pierre's question, what about the narrow-minded Christians?
Yeah.
I had some guy stop me, a resident stop me, telling me that we have to sanctify the worship hall every time the non-Christians go in there to pray. And there's Islam, and a couple types of Islam, Judaism, 3 or 4 kinds of paganism, a bunch of different Christian groups, Native
Yeah.
American groups. And so he's like, we got to sanctify this thing. And I was trying to think about, how do I talk to this guy about that? He's got these very narrow blinders.
Sure.
So I let him be who he is. I didn't answer him. But I'll figure out a way to talk to him about uh, the the divine nature of the human being.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a challenge. I could have retired. I'm old enough to retire.
Yeah.
I have books to write. I have other things to do. But I felt like I was called at the right time for the right reasons to the right place, and it turns out that the prison thinks so too. The wardens, and the more I'm known by the staff, many of whom are veterans, Afghanistan, Iraq,
Yeah.
Kuwait, Bosnia, and so they have a necessary warrior mindset, because as a friend of mine who's a cop explained to me the other day, he said, we just arrest these guys. We don't have to live with them. The corrections
Yeah.
officers, they have to live with these guys.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty high stress place, PTSD among the officers, a lot of infidelity, a lot of early death, a lot of suicide. So
Oh,
it's a complex place. And I feel like if I could bring a little light to this place and help design structures, here's my real goal. I'm trying to help design structures to make it easier for systems to function, so that the people who are in the religions can actually find the light inside themselves. That's what I'm after. That's what I'm trying to take care of all the bureaucracy, so that I can empower the people to find what they're actually seeking. And so we'll see
yeah.
how that all goes.
And that prison sounds like, you know, what we would aspire all the prisons to sound like,
Oh
because
yes.
they're hard. I mean, we need prison reformation big time in this country. So you really, it's interesting how you were called to that particular prison too, right?
Right. It's right here in my state, and also the Maine has an interesting culture in that it is so isolated from the rest of the United States. We
Yeah.
border Canada and New Hampshire, and there's only one major highway that runs up through the middle of it, and we're a rural state. We have the most forest of any state east of the Mississippi, for instance, and the very, very low population. We had to rely on ourselves.
Yeah.
And so this
Interesting.
neighborliness, and everybody's related to everybody else, this
Yeah.
neighborliness, even among enemies, is creates a civility. So we have what's called a waving culture. A lot of rural places have a waving culture. Someone drives by, you say, "Hey, I see you as a human being. You're not just a vehicle to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
We do
sorry I
that
cut
here
you
too,
off."
a little bit.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's part of our culture. And that was explained to me, that's what they wanted to bring into the prison, is this idea of living in community. And that involved being humane and respectful, and providing high levels of education, low levels and high levels of education, and to treat people with respect. And they created this gradation system where there's one section of the prison that,
Mhm.
if you're good enough, you get to live in the earned living unit. And if you're in the earned living unit, they don't lock the cells.
Wow.
And and you can come and go. You have to have a reason to be going somewhere, but you're not confined. And it's all based in relationship and community. And there's a kitchen in that place with a knife, like a kitchen knife. It's cabled to the wall, so you can't rip it off the wall and go after somebody. But there's a freaking knife in the kitchen,
Right,
and,
exactly.
right. So, and
What's
I
the
can't.
violence like? The rate for violence? Is it a lot lower than
Way lower.
statistically? Yeah, I bet.
It went from 87 assaults on staff a year to 7,
That's
which is
incredible.
it's negligible in comparison. Because if you're the one who gets assaulted, it's a big deal. But
Yeah.
overall, and because of its education perspective, it gives the residents an opportunity to live inside their brains in such
Mm,
a way that they continue to learn to understand who they are and who they are in in the context of their community, their nation, their people. It's amazing. And there's a guy I know in there. He works on the hospice team. He's never getting out. He's working on his master's in psychology right now, wants to get his doctorate because he wants to help the people who are dying. Talk
wow,
about putting your
that's a
money where
lot
your
of work.
mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's good that they have those resources, though. That's so important that they can have that education, a continued education in prison.
Yep, they have to pay for it. They do.
Oh,
They
is
have
that
to.
right?
Yep, they have to pay for it. They have to, but there are so many benefits for them should they be able to get to the place in their trustworthiness to be in
Mm,
the education section. So just the education section is this uh,
earned.
trustworthy place. You earn your way
Yeah,
into it,
yeah.
and then
Wow,
there's
that's
status
mind-blowing.
comes with it.
Oh, I'm sure, and a whole level of respect too must come with that too. Wow. I wanted to talk to you about this whole UAP disclosure thing that's going on. I know you've had experiences, we've talked about them in the past, and now you've got, oh, Hillbilly Herb is here. It's always such a joy to see you. Thank you so much for popping in. Um, you've had experiences, but we're going through this huge disclosure event where Trump is supposed to release all this stuff. And the internet is on fire with speculation and oh no, it's angels versus demons. They're not aliens. And I mean, the stuff that I'm seeing is
Put up your
crazy.
dukes. Let's fight it out. I know what it
Yeah,
is. You don't know what it is.
exactly. That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
So
it's
what's really going on with these UAPs? Do you know?
all I know is what I've seen, and I want them to come out.
Yeah,
I'm of the group because I'm an experiencer, and I kept
yeah,
my first experience a secret until the Pentagon came out in 1997, I think it was now, almost 10 years ago.
yeah.
Um, the I want the truth to come out. And apparently this is I could be spreading a rumor because I couldn't find sources for it, but apparently
Mhm.
some people in the Pentagon don't want this to come out because they're afraid
I've
of
heard that.
demons. So, like,
I've heard that exact
as if because it's like saying, if I ignore the crack in the dam, the water's not gonna flow through.
right, right,
Yeah, it's
right.
like, "Oh, yeah, it will."
Yeah.
So just, instead of trying to protect us, just tell the truth. That's all. We just want the truth. That's all we want because
So these entities are not angels or demons. They're actual ET.
well,
w-
they're talking about transdimensional beings.
Right?
And, they haven't defined what a transdimensional being is. Is that a being? Is that like a quantum entangled being that
Yeah.
moves through dimensions? Or is that like a
Yeah.
being that lives in a different dimension that can come here? I don't know. But I don't think that it has to be
That's funny.
transdimensional and or for someone from another planet and who's figured out how to go into subspace. I think we need to wait to find out who they are,
Yeah.
and let
We're
them
having
tell their
all of
own
these.
stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're having all of these orb sightings. Everybody has seen these orbs.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I've seen orbs just flying over my freaking house.
yeah. Now, are these entities, do you think, from your experience, are these ET or are they angelic or demonic?
See
What's your
see see, why would I even speculate? Why would I even
Everybody
speculate?
is.
Yeah, because but to me, as a critical thinker, I don't speculate about what I don't know, and I don't know what they are. All I know is what I've seen, and all the rest of it is prognosticators and talking heads will fill up the airwaves when they got nothing else to say. That we see that in politics all the time. Before the State of the Union address, if you turned on your television 2 hours before, what you got were a bunch of talking heads
Awful,
speculating, filling
awful,
airtime, saying nothing that they could prove. That's just the way it is.
awful.
And so I'm of the mind that we reveal what we know as fact, and we go from there. And what I'm really surprised that no one is actually talking about, to me, the most important thing about this is that when humanity discovers, especially the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition and other
Oh, yeah,
traditions as well, but particularly those, when
yeah.
we find out that we are not the pinnacle of God's creation, the whole house of cards of fundamentalism collapses. Because
I think
because
that's what they're afraid of, the government.
they
That's
should
part
be.
of yeah.
They should be, and the more we talk about that thing, because humanity lives by mythology, whether they admit it or not.
Oh,
The
sure.
whole mythology of Adam and Eve, and the creation of the world. If you pop the balloon of Adam and Eve, and 6,000 or 10,000 years ago, the whole house of religion collapses
Yeah,
because suddenly your belief in anything, everything, just shows
absolutely.
it for what it is, a speculation of an
That's right.
intellectual assent to an idea
Yeah,
that you cannot prove. And
right.
and the difference between and I'm sorry, the difference between
No, 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 I was gonna say the Pope too, right, came out and said that if ETs exists, they're God's creation. I mean,
yes,
yeah,
it's the Vatican's had an astronomy department for hundreds of years. The
right.
Vatican, if of all of the churches, they're the ones who kinda know what's going on. They have astrophysicists
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
they
oh, yeah,
know.
they have it.
Absolutely.
They got a clue,
Yeah.
and so they're probably prepared for this. But it's hard for the
Oh,
podunk
good
church
point.
down the road to be prepared for this because they don't have any, well, I won't say what I was gonna say. So, what I'm really hoping will happen is that they show up in person in a way that's instead of us all seeing these orbs and ships and that they just, like, reveal themselves, or the papers come out and we know for a fact that, these things, for those who are skeptics, is proven, then we can move to the world of experience rather than
Mm,
belief. And the fundamental problem with all religions is that all religions are based on a direct experience of an individual. Jesus,
mhm.
Muhammad,
Yes,
um,
yes.
and then what happens is religion and that mystical experiences are not religious. They have religious connotations and religious reflections, but in and of themselves, the people who experience them, they're not religious
Right.
experiences. They're direct experiences of the divine that then become religion. And so when that all cracks apart, um, what's going to be left standing? That's really the question. What's going to be left standing for people to cling on to? And my hope is that they're going to turn to the understanding of near death experience and other mystical experiences, that these are real and that science is true and that mystical experiences are real as well. And the most important thing being the lack of attachment to egoic self, because
Yeah.
that's where the problem lies in all of this selfishness and greed.
Abso-freaking-lutely, and the scary part is I think there's going to be a huge percentage of the population that will riot in the streets and go crazy once disclosure comes out, and I think that that's part, obviously, of what the government's afraid of, like, that percentage of the population that will resort to doing that. But I think it would be a wonderful thing if all religions collapsed into just one mindset that this is a spiritual world we live in, and I don't know, I
Yeah.
guess it remains to be seen, right, Peter?
It sure does. One planet, one people. When we figure
Yeah,
out that we're just one planet among many planets with life on it, then we're not, Africans and North Americans anymore. We're Earthlings.
and that's how it should be.
Yep. And my
Should.
my fantasy is that that all of these ETs are going to discover that we have coffee and that nobody else in the universe in our galaxy has coffee, and we're going to become known as the coffee planet,
Oh,
or
that's
or
funny.
and we'll all be sitting around sipping coffee together and having deep conversations in our coffee
That's
houses.
funny. I mean, obviously, there's a battle between good and evil. I mean, what does it say? What did Jesus say that we fight against principalities and what's that quote?
Powers and principalities, but it's
Powers and
Paul.
principalities, right?
It's Paul.
Right. So obviously there's that. We see it in music, we see it in TV, we see it everywhere. And then there's the revelation of the method everybody's talking about that, if you watch these movies that they're revealing what they need to reveal because they don't want to suffer karmic retribution. And there's just the internet is ablaze with this fixation with this spiritual battle. And I listen to a lot of religious
Yeah.
podcasters and it's
Fear
like
sells.
right, exactly. It's like the creation of more fear instead of abating it and
Yep.
quelling it, they're just igniting it.
I worked in the news station for 15 years. I was not a news person, but my office was in a news station. And it's true, if it bleeds, it leads. And
Yes.
because and that's true. So
Absolutely.
all these people out there making all sorts of speculations about stuff they do not know about. They have ideas about, they believe this thing about it, but they don't know this thing. That's where a lot of the problem lies. And from my opinion is that in order to boost clicks, you create fear. And so why if I encountered this negative entity, why would I focus on that? Why would I
Right.
not focus on the light of all being and keep my heart and mind and soul aimed at this most powerful that there is? And so that's what I do. That's what I'm aiming. And so I don't get into debates or discussions about any of this because ultimately it doesn't exist. All that exists is the oneness of being. And everybody's caught up in living this life. From my point of view, this is totally temporary. Totally
It really
100%
is.
temporary. I am passing through here. I
100%.
live in a rental, and when this rental is used up, I'm out of here.
That's a good
And
way to
it's
look at it. It's a rental and meat suit.
Yep, and it's not
A
and
meat
it's
suit.
and it and I'm not looking at it from this point of view. I'm not as the rental unit. I'm looking at it from the point of view of my divine soul as the renter. And when I know that I'm the renter, then and not in a way that is belief based, but in a way that
Yeah,
is experientially based, then it
right.
makes it a whole lot easier to say, "Tisk, tisk, tisk,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
silly human beings. Look what they're up to now."
yeah. And it's sad too because, like, with the Epstein files, I mean, I was shut. No, I don't want to say shocked. Not shocked because I knew this stuff was happening. Decades ago, I knew this stuff was happening. But I feel bad for people because the people that didn't believe it are really talk about the separation of your egoic self and cognitive dissonance. They're going through it, like they're weeping on social media, Peter, because they can't believe what they're reading and seeing and how painful that is for people right now. Think about what that's doing to their spirit. I mean, is that a good thing that the population is waking up to these things? Or do you I mean, I don't know. It's so tragic in a way.
When one's identity becomes one's belief system, when that belief system falls,
Yes.
one's identity falls with it. And so the so in cults
Yeah.
the more under pressure they are, like in Jim Jones. Remember the Jim
Oh,
Jones thing? The more under
terrible.
pressure they were,
Yeah.
the more they clung to, or Waco, same thing. The more they cling to their belief systems because they're threatened. Because if they give up their belief systems, they give up their identity. They have to admit that they've been wrong. They have to admit that they made mistakes.
And that's too
Um,
painful.
it's too painful. It's too painful. And yet if people would practice some kind of non-attachment to self, then you recognize that that's not your identity anyway.
Yeah, I think George Carlin said that too very well. that when politics become your identity, it's really tragic, and that's what is happening to a lot of people too. They've let their politics become who they are. And yes, Herb, a lot of normies are having a real ontological shock. They are. And it's sad. I watch these videos and these people, like I said, they're weeping. Um, it's always tough to believe this, that Satan was, and I do believe it on a huge level, cast out of heaven by God and thrusted into the earth where, I mean, as humans, we have dominion because God gave us dominion over the earth and all the creatures, right? But
Yeah, that's a
it's it
that's a
says that in the Bible.
yeah, except for another translation of that word is stewardship, not
Ah,
dominion.
okay. I like that word better rather than dominion. What, and I always think about this, and it's terrible that I question God because I typically don't like to do that, except for this one instance. Why didn't he cast Satan to like Uranus or another planet?
Uh,
Like, why did he have to put him here? If
uh,
he gave us this beautiful life on this beautiful planet and then just happened to throw the devil down here and all the wickedness, not physically Satan, but like all the demonic vibe of it, the vibration, the energy of it. Like, why didn't God just put him somewhere else? That's my
so
question for God.
so it what if what if Satan isn't what you think it is? And because
Yeah,
remember when that was written about Earth was flat in a lot of people's mind, and there was a
right.
dome above it, and the stars were little pinpricks, and beyond the dome was water, and it stood on trees.
Yeah,
And so the whole idea that it's very humanocentric to me. God sent this thing. God made this for us. We're the pinnacle of creation. God sent the Satan to us. It is all still about the egoic self.
it
And
is. But the Bible says that, I mean, if you
yeah, well,
follow the Bible,
so when God sent Aaron, I want to get that right, Aaron into Jericho, God gave sanction according to the Bible of genocide. Every single person in Jericho was killed. All of the animals were killed. Everything was killed.
mm,
I often think that a lot of the Bible is really a story about humanity, what we
yes,
are actually like. And interwoven in that is our moments of divine truth. And so from my point of view, when I was on the other side, it
yeah,
wasn't that the universe was that Satan was cast out of heaven and
mm,
created evil. It's that the universe is limited and divine is unlimited. For this to exist, limitation has to occur. And
okay,
limitation includes cruelty. It's not just human beings being cruel to each other. It's the coyote eating the red squirrel. Well, from the red squirrel's point of view, that's terrible, but from the coyote's point of view, it's like food for my
great,
babies.
yeah, yeah.
And so the whole place is structured with this, um, less than
Survival,
nature survival, and
yeah,
human beings are evolved animals, and our tendency toward violence is what's kept us alive as a species
absolutely.
against so it's I'm hesitant to blame it on the devil when really it seems to be the structure of the
Human
universe
fault, yeah,
and humans.
human, yeah. Well, Herb kind of makes a really good point here. He says perhaps it's that Satan represents free will, and those who are looking to commit evil hide under that umbrella. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
That's yep,
that's a good one.
and they're
And I
all
also
about
like
themselves.
Pierre. Pierre
Mm.
made a good point too. Maybe it falls upon humans to sort it out. Maybe, yeah, maybe God just said, sort it out. You have free will. It's probably a combination of both of those statements, right?
Yes, probably, and Pierre is correct, coyotes, unless it's Wile E. Coyote. He's the only one. Only Wile E. Coyote could develop a
That's
weapon of
funny.
mass destruction. But yeah, human beings, we make weapons of mass destruction
Yes,
with
we
this
do.
false notion that we can win.
Yeah.
What's that old saying? World War II is fought with bombs and guns, and World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Oh, that's good. I never heard that one. I thought you
Because
were gonna
world
say sticks and drones.
no, World War III will be
Will be drones
drones
and yeah,
drones and nukes.
drones and
That's
nukes, yeah.
right.
I mean,
Um,
look at this whole war we're currently experiencing right now, not to get political, but it's just so tragic, the whole it doesn't make sense. It's like in order to prevent people from killing us with nukes, we have to kill them with nukes or
mutually
kill
assured
it doesn't
destruction.
yeah, it just doesn't
Yep, first strike
humans are
capability.
cuckoo, I swear.
We are. We'd rather we'd
Cuckoo
rather
race.
defecate in our bed than change the sheets.
Oh my
Um,
god, that's so
that's kind of what we do. And and all of that stems from
yeah,
the misinterpretation of that dominion versus stewardship. If we have dominion over the planet, we can do anything we want. We can wreck it. And that's what we've been doing.
yeah, there's such a difference in words, even the way they sound, dominion and oh my god, that was such a great I'm gonna have to tell everybody that now. I love
It's a
that.
very different point of view. And that's
It
not me
really
saying
is.
that. That's the Hebrew saying that.
Boy, they knew a thing or two. Do you think that ET, the reason they're not interfering or influencing us in any way right now is because of free will? Because they know kind of the guidelines of the universe and God, and that they're not supposed to come down and solve although they've been known to deactivate nukes. I mean, I've
Yes, it's
kinda
measured.
yeah,
We know
so
that for a
for
fact.
a fact,
Yep.
yes.
Yep. We
So
know that
what's up
for a
with
fact.
that? What
Don't
your
know.
ET experience refresh my brain again. I know you saw them. I think you were on a dark road somewhere, driving fast or something, right?
Chased them for miles.
Chased them, right, with your friend.
Yep.
Yeah,
Four other guys, and watched it make a right angle turn with no curve. Right angle, never decelerated,
that's crazy.
which would, smash us up against the side and break every bone in our body. And
It sure
that's
would.
not what happened. And I I have hope. I keep hoping that will be that's kind of the solution. Now, why haven't they impacted us? Well, apparently they've been coming here for long, 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 long
Thousands
time.
of millennial. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
so we probably haven't proved to them that we're much better now than we were 100,000 years ago. It's just as Pierre pointed out, our tools are different. Our
Yeah.
tools can destroy the whole world, as opposed to what it was like with, clubs and spears and those
Yeah, it's
those
like the
those
beginning of
throwing sticks with the spear on the end of
yeah,
it.
it reminds me of this is why this movie, talk about the revelation of the method. 2001: A Space Odyssey opens up with the
Yeah.
apes picking up a bone and discovering they can hit somebody over the head with it, and, it like that's who we are, except we're hitting people with nukes instead of rocks and stones, so
We haven't
did
really
you ever
changed.
yeah, yeah. Did in your okay, so you had what, 2 experience with ET?
I
I
had
think you
3.
had 3?
One I chased. Second one, was in my backyard. There's an orb going
Yeah.
overhead, and the third one was on Cape Cod. It just flew overhead. A big delta
Were
wing.
these triangle or orbs? They were
The first one was a disc, and it was like a half a mile wide. It was
oh, I remember
humongous.
that.
And the second one was an orb, which I have a video of. And the third one was a triangular black ship with, 3 lights and a light in the middle.
Interesting that they were all
Um,
different.
they're all different. And who's to say they're not different species? There's also just there's
Exactly.
this kind of species and that kind of species and the other, and there's probably lots of different types. If the universe is 13.9, the visible universe is
Yeah, yeah,
known to
yeah.
be 13.9 billion years. That's a
Yep,
long time for species
a
to
long
evolve
time ago.
if they
And
had a
it could
head
be older. Yeah.
Yeah, if they have a head start on us, so
Yeah.
it might be lots of different. There's a septillion stars and
Oh my
star systems.
goodness.
I mean, in galaxies, and how many planets?
It's so weird. Everybody's talking about this galactic federation. All of a sudden, like the past year or two, I'm hearing about this galactic federation, and people are saying that they're members of it. And like my BS detector, as an empath, God gifted me with a really good BS detector. And most of the time I keep it to myself, but like, I don't know this galactic federation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a galactic federation. I don't know.
There could
Maybe
be.
it's my favorite word. Like,
There
I
could
don't know.
be. There could be one, and they could have an agreement. It could be very Star Trek like.
It could
Um,
be.
but could be. But until and I'm skeptical insofar as I don't see any proof. Show if
Exactly.
when and this gets back to speculation again. People say lots of things because they hear other people say lots of things.
Exactly. But
Um,
the thing that and this is a good point. Pierre said, "Are they spiritual or physical or something else altogether or both?"
I
We
guess we're
don't
gonna
know.
find out.
Yeah, we're gonna find out. I don't know, the whole thing with channeling too, like and that's the sad thing about the internet is, clicks and dollars make people do very strange things. And you see these people that come on and they say that they can, and I fully think that some people can channel
Some
entities
people
and
can.
stuff.
Mhm.
Absolutely, right? Um, I interviewed a gentleman and he's coming back on the show named Nico the Medium, and I fully believe he's a channeler. And it's again, you have to go by your own intuitions and your own feelings about these things. But with the Galactic Federation, I don't know. Like you said, give us some modicum of proof
Yeah.
that there is a something to hold
Yep.
on to, right?
Because many near-death experiencers have clinical deaths, like, they're in the hospital, the doctors see that
Dead,
they're dead.
right?
There are people like me, I don't have clinical death, although the ambulance might be. I should go look at that, I just
Yeah, for
haven't.
your heart
But
attack.
yep, I should probably, but I haven't. And, the because it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah,
Um, my life is my evidence.
right. Yeah,
And part of the reason why I'm working in a prison is 'cause, I didn't want to have to earn a living by clicks.
right.
So when I was running Not Church on YouTube, I asked people to donate if they wanted to, and I wasn't trying to, like, build my channel so that the demigod Google would provide me with an income. I'm much happier actually earning an
Yeah,
income and a
and
job where
doing
I
it.
don't have to
Yeah,
compromise myself.
yeah. It's rough online. And it's funny because people that have podcasts, unless you have millions of views, you make money.
Yep,
For smaller podcasters, you're lucky you see 3 cents at the end of the day.
yep.
And, I mean, and Google takes 30%. So if somebody gives you, and I had to laugh because I think a podcast or two ago, somebody donated $1.99 and Google gave me 80 cents out of the $1.99. Like they need to take that.
Yep.
Oliver, stop your barking. Like they need to take that from poor podcasters that are trying to like survive. It's crazy. That's a whole nother podcast. But
Yep.
um, so do you think that you've mentioned that we're all like fundamentally connected, right?
Oh, yeah. At the very core of our being, there's only love, light,
And you've
and
seen that during your first NDE, that
I've seen.
everybody has this light within them.
Mhm, and it's all the same light. It's all love.
That seems to be a running theme through like 90% of the people that have had NDEs. They have seen this light that emanates from us. So it has to be like, talk about proof. I mean, how much more proof do you need when like almost everybody I think only one person had a negative experience that I
It,
spoke to.
it can happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess that would be really scary too, right?
Yeah.
For somebody that died in, like there's a famous video that went around too of this guy that went to hell. I think it's called, like, 90 Minutes in Hell or
Oh yeah.
something like that, and
Mm,
that was horrific, and in the end, he got saved. Jesus, pulled
right.
him out and saved him because he
Yep.
asked for.
And he
Now you
lives his
didn't.
life differently now.
Right, absolutely differently, yeah. You didn't see Jesus directly, right? Yeah.
But I was forgiven after I died, and I wasn't judged. I judged myself in comparison to infinite unconditional love. And of course, I come up short in comparison to that.
But you had a life review, right?
I did.
Yeah. Oh, the first one, not the second one?
Second one, I wasn't dead long. I didn't go all the way. I didn't go far from my body. I was welcome to, but I chose not to.
Wow, that's trippy. So you knew when you died the second time and just said, "I'm not taking that path again." You
I
knew that.
the second time I died, I was welcome to come to go home to heaven, to light, to
Right,
paradise. And instead of being absorbed by this same entity, intelligent being, um, angel, I was parallel to it, leaving alongside it when I remembered, my family before I left and what I had
right.
just seen with my son, and decided to go back inside and check to see if everybody was ready for me to leave. And, I could see that my son wasn't, I could see that my daughter wasn't, and I could see that my granddaughter, she was less than a year old at the time. I could see her life with and without me, parallel lives. And I
That's
could see that it was
incredible.
okay. I mean, without me, she would have been okay, but I could see that with me, she was much better off. And not
When
because
you saw that, did that happen in an instant,
oh, in an
or
instant,
that's
boom.
crazy.
Yep. And and so it seems to be. We have a very special relationship. I've got 3 grandkids now, and I wish my other 2 lived near me, because I would treat them the same. I treat them the same when I see them, but they live far away, and they're very little right now. But my granddaughter, who's now much older, 9 years old, 11 years old, um, we're very close.
That's nice. She knows
Oh, yeah,
about
I
your.
told her a long time ago. She knows I came back for her,
Wow.
um, and, um, and
I
I
could see why you have a special relationship with her.
yep.
I mean, that's like a thing to really bond and connect over. It's crazy. So what are you working on now? What do you got? I mean, not that you don't have enough on your plate with work and like your life and your family and everything, but are you writing another book? I know there was talk of a documentary a while back. Like,
There's a
what's the buzz?
documentary coming out in March
Oh,
about near-death
wonderful.
experience and UFOs, and it involves, it'll hopefully make a splash. That's coming out soon, and, I took the work that I worked on for the last 5 years that was going to be a feature film that I walked away from, due to an unresolved conflict, and a conflict that we couldn't solve.
Yeah.
Um, I'm hoping that that becomes something. We'll see what happens with
Yeah.
that. And eventually, once I get my feet on the ground, and I'm well established in my new position, I'll get back to writing the next book that's halfway written anyway,
Oh,
um,
wow.
and we have been talking to my literary agency about that,
So you always have something to share and inspire us with, Peter.
trying to, and I still run a counseling service. Today I had
Oh,
3
nice.
clients. I help people who've had for a lot people who've had all sorts of different kind of experiences, but primarily people who've had transformative experiences that leave them, unmoored.
So it doesn't have to be an NDE. It could
No,
be.
could be anything. And some of my clients I help them with lots of different things too. So I'm not a therapist, but I've had 40 something years of pastoral counseling.
Of
Um,
course, yeah.
but so I have that experience and I read about psychology but
Of course, yeah.
spirituality and spiritual transformation and integration is really my forte.
So how do you book these clients? Do you have it on your website?
Go to peterpanagore.love, peterpanagore.love. There it
Panagore.
is.
I always say Panagore. It's just
It's
Panagore.
yeah, it's alright because everybody thinks it's Italian, but it's not. It's Americanized Greek, and I could tell you the story of
Ah,
my illegal grandfather, and how we ended up with the name Panagore and why there were
go
only
ahead.
10 of us. Um, that's a long story.
Oh, next
Another
time.
time, next time.
You know I'm gonna reach out to you again. And again, I so appreciate you taking some time out of your day and speaking with us. And your life is such a blessing, not only to your family, but to all the people that listen to you and read your books. And it's your life is miraculous, Peter. And we thank you so much for sharing so much of it.
Well, it's my job. Thanks.
It is
It's
your
if people
job.
talk about their purpose and their mission, this is mine.
It really is. I truly believe that. We all have a mission, and this is definitely yours. Well, I will of course send you emails with some dates. Maybe we could do this again in the summer. That would be brilliant. I
That
would
sounds
love.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'm booking all the way up into June, so I'll send you some dates. This way we could nail it. And the weekends, of course, are always best for you. Sunday primarily, right?
yeah, because of my, you know, job.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions for him before we say goodbye? The song Blinded by the Light. Oh, they're chit-chatting in there. Um, Anybody else have a question before we say goodbye to Peter? Thank you all in the chat for popping in on a day when I typically don't do this. And I'm thinking of like maybe doing some more of these down the road. Great. Thank you so much, Heidi. You know we love you dearly. Thank you, everyone in the chat. And again, thank you so much, Peter. You're so loved. You're so loved by so many people. And that's a blessing, right?
Sure is.
Good luck at work. And we will always be sending you positive energy so that you can do your job the best you can, and which of course you do anyway. And stay in a veil of protection.
Thank you. And to answer Pierre's question before I go, would I come back a third time if ever? I'm hoping the third time's a charm and I get to be out again.
That's a good answer. That's a
But
good
anyway,
answer,
peace and
Peter.
love, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. You're so loved. Thank you, Peter. Bye-bye, dear. Gosh, I'm always left speechless after I talk to Peter, and we have so much thanks and gratitude to him. Through Peter's experience and reflections, we were able to explore so much today. The possibilities of what it feels, um, that actually there is a deeper unity, I think, that I'm taking away from that. And that beneath all the noise of living as a human, identity, fear, and conflict, that these may be shared fields of consciousness connecting us all in some odd way, too. We love talking to Peter so much. Don't forget to check out his website, peterpangore.love, Love. And of course, I will have all the links in all the social media platforms to where you can check out Peter and his website and his counseling service and everything. Oh, geez. Thank you, Heidi. Oh, my gosh. Thank you so much for that. You're so loved too. I'm gonna hit you up later, girl. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Your presence and your questions mean more to me than words can express. Thank you, Pierre. So nice meeting you for the first time. Do pop back in. We have shows every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So if you can subscribe to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, it means the world to me when you do. Bye, guys. Have a blessed rest of your Sunday. Bye bye.